different types of electric guitar tuning pegs. Something that reveals the quality and category of a guitar is its tuning stability. But there are many factors that can influence the tuning stability, such as the quality and construction material of the nut and the saddles, and of course the quality of the tuning pegs. Although a very important factor is knowing how to properly place guitar strings. The most efficient and fastest way to string is by using locking tuners, since it would be almost impossible to err in the process of installing a new string, as it could happen in a standard headstock. In the case of locking tuners, we would simply have to pass the string through the hole in the peg, tighten the string by hand, tighten the lock, and tune the string. What the blocker does is hold the rope to the winch, similar to how a terminal block would hold an electrical cable. In the placement of strings in the standard tuning machines, the process is not so simple. But if we follow the steps below, we'll have the same tuning efficiency as if we had a set of locking tuners mounted on our guitar. Although it's always better to use locking tuners if you're used to using the tremolo arm frequently. Okay, after threading the rope through the hole in the peg and tightening it by hand, we need to leave a stretch of rope several inches long, which will be the piece of rope that will end up wound around the winch. It's important to leave enough string available to allow it to turn several times on the lathe. The number of turns should be increased as the string is thinner. For example, for the 6th string, 2 turns are enough, since it is a string of a certain thickness, and it is more difficult for it to escape or slip slightly from the winch. For the 5th string, it wouldn't hurt to turn it at least 3 times. For the 4th and 3rd string, it would be best to leave enough length of string so that it turns on the winch 4 or 5 times. And for the 2nd and 1st strings, 5 or 6 turns are recommended, avoiding the turns being stacked on top of each other. In this way, the tension of the string is distributed over several turns, preventing the string from escaping, apart from getting the string more crowded against the nut. Since by contributing several turns, the angle of the string with respect to the nut increases, benefiting the sustain of the instrument. Turning the pegs several turns by hand is a bit tedious to do, but to do this we have cheap string winders, which will greatly facilitate our work. One thing I recommend is passing the first wrap over the excess string and the rest under it. This way, the excess string will be trapped between the first 2 wraps. I usually cut the 4 thickest strings flush, moving the string from side to side until it snaps, and cut the 2 thinnest ones with pliers, and bend the excess against the winch, since they are more prone to slipping or even escaping from the winch. But if you want, you can do this same thing on all the strings for safety. In short, if we place the strings as indicated, we won't miss locking tuners at all, except for the fact that placing strings on a locking tuner is easier and faster. On the vintage Fender style tuners, known as Kluson, string installation would also be very easy to do. We simply must leave a sufficient section of string to be able to wind it on the winch and cut the excess section. Then we introduce the end of the string through the hole of the peg, and then we would only have to wind the string. Placing new pegs on our electric guitar is one of the easiest things to do. But before buying a new set, we must make sure that it is the correct pegs, since there are many different types. To begin with, there are 2 large groups. The 3+3 sets fit into headstocks with 3 pegs on each side, and headstocks with 6 inline pegs. Within these groups, we can find pegs held by 2 pivots, with 1 pin and a screw in a corner or on the side, or with 2 pins and 2 screws in the corners or on the sides. Among the most outstanding tuning pegs brands for their value for money, we have Goto, Shala, or Grover. The price of a peg varies depending on the type of manufacture and finishes. The cheapest finish is usually standard chrome plating, as opposed to other finishes such as black or gold. The Speritzel brand is another mythical manufacturer specializing in locking pegs, and it is possibly one of the best options we can find on the market as far as quality is concerned. Although it would be difficult to find a set of tuners of this brand for less than $120, Paradoxically, Fender and Gibson sets of tuning pegs are not too expensive, since models that exceed $90 would be rare. The Kluson brand has an infinite number of tuning pegs models with a truly unbeatable value for money. This manufacturer sells models in different finishes, with and without lock, with a price ranging between $25 and $60, and they fulfill their role as champions. In the Tronical brand, we have the automatic tuning models, both in 3+3 format and 6 in line. These tuners incorporate a small independent electric motor for each tuner, which will tune each string quickly and automatically. The installation of this system in any standard headstock is very simple. We would only have to place the mechanism on the back and install the tuning pegs as if it were a normal set. Then we charge the lithium battery with autonomy for 300 tunings, we place the strings in the locking system of each peg, we cut the excess string and ready to go. When the system is offline, the Tronicals would behave exactly like a normal set of locking tuning pegs. This will allow us to tune the guitar manually. The Tronical pegs would not only tune the guitar in the standard way, but we also have different tunings built into its memory. We can also save our own tunings, and the system will allow us to go from one tuning to another practically instantly. This factor would be the strong point of this type of system. If we generally use a standard tuning, this type of tuner may not be of much help to us, since we will not use the most interesting function of this system. I do not want to finish without commenting that changes in temperature will affect the tuning, and we must check its condition frequently in places that, due to whatever circumstance, do not maintain a stable temperature. Knowing the factors that can improve the tuning stability of our guitar is essential. Some typical features of the instrument, such as movable bridges, or even techniques specific to the electric guitar like bending, will continually test this stability. You'll now see links that cover guitar tuning relative to the nut and bridge types, complementing the extensive information on tuning stability.